You get plenty of coverage of Oklahoma State football. You think you hear all the noise coming from Gallagher-Iba Arena when you get your Cowboy basketball news. But you don't.
You just don't get it, do you? You don't.
And there's a couple of Jordans here to fix just that. This is the Cowgirl Coverage Podcast.
This could be a podcast. Anyone with a computer can make one.
And here are your hosts, Jordan Keene and Jordan Bishop.
Welcome back into the Cowgirl Coverage Podcast, Triple Play Podcast Network, episode number 30. This was supposed to be episode 31, but my slacking off abilities are proving true here in the for early part of football season. Still kind of getting the schedule worked out, but here we are, episode 30, and we'll take you through the latest and greatest in the world of cowgirl sports, as we usually do. Coming up in the show, Jordan, we got Jaci Jones joining the program. Really excited about that interview. Thought that was really terrific with her. The senior forward midfielder from Mustang, Oklahoma, and talked a little bit about her journey. When do you know that you're a college player? All that stuff. I thought she was a terrific interview.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad we finally got a player on. It's been a while since we had a player on. Our athlete, Sinclair Johnson, was the last one we had. That was back in early June, so it's been a while, but glad we get that. And she, started giving us, some tips on who to talk to next. So we're going to try to get a schedule back on. And, I think it was pretty good. And she obviously knows a lot about the program being here in her senior year, and she gave a lot of good insight.
So a couple things, Jordan. Let's just real quickly run down the last weekend. Oklahoma and Oral Roberts tied 2-2 with Oklahoma. Obviously had a late lead in that one, give up 2 goals in the last 15 minutes. Again, I've said it multiple times over on the radio side of things, but I did not think it was a penalty. But I digress. Me and officials never have gotten along. So I didn't think it was a penalty, but nonetheless, they give it to her. That was just a kind of a case of two really good teams going at each other. And as JC said after the match, her post-game comments were, look, when this is a tough place to come play. A tie is a pretty good result down here, so we'll take it and we'll continue to try to get better.
Yeah, definitely. And that's just that first week. That's all you can. With the game being canceled, I think it's UTSA, and having that all happen, and it's just kind of a weird week. But just to have a draw, I know it's not what you want against a rival, especially the way it happened. But it's good that you still didn't lose. So now you're going into the second week, and that's what we asked. I think we had Elise Hahn come and talk to us yesterday, and we asked her about just staying focused, because you have Penn State on the horizon, but you got to stay focused this week because, like Coach Carmichael said, Central Arkansas had the best year in program history last year. St. Louis is usually a pretty good squad, so you have to stay focused this week. So I think not losing last week gives you some confidence for this week.
I would have to go back, but I do believe I saw that St. Louis was a tournament team last year. I believe they were receiving votes in the preseason as well. So that's a team that, very similar to OU, you got to play your best. Certainly a home match should help, not having to go on the road. But we'll see how they play coming up this weekend. That's upcoming for this weekend. Looking back again at that Oral Roberts match, now 2 goals for Jaci Jones gets her up to 3 in that OU match for the season. But then the Oral Roberts match was obviously one where you get a couple more goals from Olivia Dowell. Terrific job from her, and then obviously you get another goal from Gabriella Coleman. It's been terrific from those two. Those two enter the program for you and really prove to be making big waves early on, especially with losing Haley and Marlowe and those kinds of goal scorers. These two newcomers have really stepped up.
Yeah, and that's what the big question was before going the season was who's going to score for you. Even Colin didn't really know who was going to score for him. Now he has an idea, and he thought it was going to be between 4 or 5 players. Now he's got narrowed down to 2 or 3, and it especially helps with the newcomer. You saw what Gabriella did last year in the spring season, but seeing Olivia Dowell come in here and transition, the best transition I've seen come from high school to college. She's just a freshman. Hopefully she can keep it going, but that's just got to be great if you're Colin Carmichael. That's something you didn't know if you were going to have, and now you have.
I'll tell you what, if you're the freshman of the week in the Big 12, and then after you get that award, the very next Sunday, the start of the next week, you score 4 goals. That's pretty good way to start things off for Olivia Dowell. So she's been terrific. Those two have scored 56% of the goals for the Cowgirls so far, and then you add in Jaci Jones. That's all the goals but one coming from those 3 players. Julia Linhart finally got her goal and does a great job for that team in different ways, but finally seeing her on the score sheet was definitely good as well. So, as you said, Jordan, upcoming Central Arkansas, St. Louis, couple of solid teams, and then next week we'll certainly talk at length about Penn State and the trip up there to College Park, because it is a tough trip and one of the more historic, one of the more tradition-rich programs in women's college soccer. Talking about Penn State and taking on the Lady Nittany Lions is no joke, and that's coming up for them in about a week. So they'll have to obviously play well this weekend, but then try to get back on the horse and playing your best soccer. If you get a win over that team, that's something to write home about, and if you even draw them, that'll be a good result on the road.
Yeah, definitely. And the good thing with the Cowgirls is, barring anything this week, knock on wood, but we talked to Colin yesterday, and he mentioned the injuries they've had through this first week. Not dire injuries like they were last year, but Kristen Saragusa is already back on the field. He said Hannah Warner's already back on the field. Hannah Webb's going to be taking a few days. She might, they might reevaluate her after the weekend. But having Hannah Warner, she might not be back at goal. Danny Greenlee's kind of taking on those duties so far, but just having her as depth helps out, Coach Carmichael. So it helps that, yes, you've had some injuries that you don't really want, but they're not really bad. So they're already getting back into the flow of things. So I think that helps out. And then hopefully go into full strength at Penn State and, show them that there isn't much separating you, because we talked to them yesterday and they said there isn't much separating us from that team, but they just got to show that they can compete on that level.
Yeah, and again, those are teams you're going to have to beat if you want to win the Big 12 as well. And Saragusa specifically, that's someone who has, over the course of her career, been a big impact player for the Cowgirls, and she hasn't gotten on the field really much at all. She played a little bit in a couple of the games, but really battling her way back to fitness, and that's good that she's back to being a full participant in practice. So good recap, good quick recap there of the Cowgirl soccer team. Wanted to keep it kind of short and make sure that we can get to the Jaci Jones interview here. So she's coming up next. Jordan, anything particularly that you wanted to kind of pick out and point out from her interview?
Yeah, I thought she was great, and that she mentioned that she didn't think she was good at media, but she is really good. If you can talk to people, and that's what we kind of try to do this podcast, just conversate with people, make it easier for them. And what I really liked about talking to her was, we don't really think about, I guess, stature in soccer. It's not really something like as big as, basketball, where it's everything on how tall you are and whatnot. But, she's a shorter player, and she mentions that she, has to fight a bit more, and she had to learn to be more physical here in college than she was in high school, because she didn't really do that in high school. So I think that was really interesting, seeing how she transitioned and that made that part of her game.
No doubt about it. Here is Jaci Jones. When we come back, we'll kind of tie things up on the soccer side of things. Quick note about golf that they got coming up next on the Cowgirl Coverage podcast. Here's Jaci Jones. Welcome back into the Cowgirl Coverage podcast. Jordan with you and down here at Neil Patterson Stadium with our first Cowgirl soccer player. Pardon me. We've had Coach Colin Carmichael on during the off season and got some good things, just some behind the scenes of how to run a soccer program, and you got even some Rangers talk in there as well. So, but please be joined on this episode, I think episode 31, by Jaci Jones. And Jaci, first of all, welcome to the podcast, and thanks for taking out a few minutes.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me on. This is really fun.
So I guess best place to start, we start with a lot of athletes with what drew you to Oklahoma State. I know you've mentioned kind of your story and you grew up as an Oklahoma State fan, but what drew you to the recruiting process and all of that to Oklahoma State?
Yeah, I feel like people kind of know my story a little bit just because I always talk about like how much I love OSU. I truly bleed orange. But growing up, my dad went to school here, but then growing up, we have had the same season football tickets since I can remember, and we have season basketball tickets, and just like growing up, like Stillwater's always felt like home, and I just like walking around, like I can remember like whenever I was little tailgating and like just going to the football games and things like that. So it was like always my dream to come to school here. First of all, to be on the Palm Squad. That was like the ultimate dream. I had like the cheer outfit and the whole thing. But it was really just to come here and play soccer. And even if I weren't playing soccer here, like I would 100% be going to school here. So I've always just loved it. And like I said, it's always just kind of like had that comfort, like home feeling for me. So
when did you know, we probably don't ask athletes this enough, but like when did you know you had the game to play Division I college soccer? Like is that like a light switch that like flips on that like I'm starting to be recruited by some of the top programs?
Yeah, I feel like I had 3 older siblings who all played two of them played Division I college soccer. And the other one just played at an NAIA school in Southern Nazarene, newcomers, or Bethany. And so growing up, just like being surrounded by that, you kind of like, and watching like your siblings get recruited and seeing like the level that they're at and their teammates are at and things like that, you just kind of like, you're just around it all the time. And then as soon as like you go to camps and like the ID camps or, even the, like the kids camps and stuff that like I help out with over the summer, like you go to those, and if you kind of like stick out in those and you're like, okay, like, you kind of think you're pretty good, or like I have a chance at least. And then I remember like dreaming pretty big, like I think I was in 8th grade when I sent my first, like obviously the recruiting rules have changed, which is a good thing, because I was in 8th grade when I sent my first college letters. And I was going to a showcase tournament, and I like I said, I dreamed big. I hit like Stanford and like UCLA and North Carolina and places like that. And then just like hoping just to put my name out there, And then, like I said, you just kind of like go to these camps, and as you like play in like a competitive league, like club soccer, for instance, you just kind of like, if you're one of the players that kind of sticks out, then you kind of feel like, okay, like I have a pretty good shot. And then as you just hear back from the coaches, like from these respective schools, you're like, okay, like I guess I have at least a shot of, going there and making it work. And you take visits and things like that. And then at that point, you're kind of, you feel like, okay, yeah, it's going to work at some point. Just now I got to figure out the school. And growing up, like in high school, I was on a club team, and there was like 2 different leagues. I think we played like in National League, and then I think it was called RPL, which is like Regional Premier League. And those, like, I feel like I stood out in those games and on that club team. And then I played in a league called ECNL. This was before like the DA, which I don't even know if this is making sense to you guys, but they're just different. There's different clubs. And so once I played with the ECNL, I was like, this is like where all the good players are at. You know what I'm saying? That's why I feel like I stood out so much in with my other club teams. So I was like, okay, like once I got to ECNL, I was like, this is it. But I was able to hold my own. So to your like question, like I think it was then that I realized, like, yeah, I have first of all, a chance to play, and second, like I'll be successful. You know what I'm saying? That's how I thought of myself, I guess.
And Colin, we just asked him about, transitioning from high school to college. He mentioned defense was where he sees a lot of players struggle. Did you have a welcome to college moment out there on the pitch, or was it you just were you ready, do you think, to come in playing the first time you hit the field?
I don't know what can prepare you, honestly. I don't feel like I was ready. I mean, and I've heard coaches say that, not only Colin, but, my sisters even, like I said, they played Division I college soccer, and they would tell me, like, like it's a lot more physical and stuff, and you're like, okay, yeah, like I'll be fine, But I don't think you really ever can prepare yourself for something like that, like, because you literally get in there and you're playing against sometimes like 23-year-olds, you know what I'm saying, as an 18-year-old, and you're like, what in the world? They've been in the weight room. I had never lifted a weight in my life, like before coming, So literally, I don't know. I don't think I ever had that like one holy crap moment, but I probably had multiple, to be honest. There's not one sticks out, but I don't know if you can ever be fully prepared for that.
So you mentioned, physicality wasn't anything you had to do mostly in high school, because it's, just based on speed, and a lot of players are better than other players. So nowadays you are really physical, and you have gone to the weight room. How overall have you seen yourself grow as a player being here at OSU?
Like you mentioned, the weight room, I think with that, I don't even think I could do a pull-up whenever I first got here. Now I can do one, so like things like that, you can, like, those are, I guess, like measurable type of like improvements, I guess, in myself. But I think for me, it's just been like confidence, I think, more than anything else. Like, I think my freshman year coming in here, I wasn't this like highly recruited or highly sought after player. And then, so like coming in, you just kind of like, you see these other girls that like you played against and things like that, and you're like, wow, they're really good, and then being able to like play with them, and I feel like I said, hold my own. I feel like I just like the confidence that I gained in that, I think that has helped me more than anything else. And then just like as a player, I don't know, I've really like, I try to really like be coachable, first of all, and like take the things that the coaches are telling me and really try to apply those. I mean, Karen sent me a video clip this week of myself, and she was like, hey, like, you need to stop doing this. And I was like, look, I know that. Like, you've told me that multiple times, and you've not only told me that, but you've told my teammates that. And so I think I just try to, like, really apply what they tell me, because I feel like once you're, like, all on the same page, like, that helps a lot. I don't know really if that answered your question, but
it does.
Okay.
You're pretty Twitter famous for drawing fouls against, the drawing fouls from the other team, and also your physical play as well. Is that something you can is that something you can get good at, or is that just something do you know what I mean? Like, is that something you can teach yourself how to be like draw fouls on someone else? Like, is that a skill?
I don't know if it's a skill. I don't know. Like, I think the girls on the other team really don't want to call it a skill, because I don't think I call it a skill either. But just you have to play to your own strengths, right? So I'm not the most the biggest player on the field, clearly, So I have to find other ways to make my strengths known, So with that, yeah, what I always tell people is if I'm not gonna try to stay up if I don't feel if I feel like it's a foul, I'm not gonna work hard to stay up. If I'm going down, I'm going down. I'm not gonna, and especially if I think I'm gonna get a call, yeah, 100%. I think it's strategic. So I think it's more strategic than it is a skill, if that makes it. But yeah,
the mindset.
Yeah, right. I know it does make some other people mad, but I think in the Tulsa game, Colin told me there were 19 fouls against Tulsa, and 12 of them were against me. So I'm yeah. But it does make some people upset, which by all means, I would be upset if I had to play against that also. So,
you mentioned that you weren't recruited that much coming out of high school, and do you feel that you kind of have a chip on your shoulder, plus, being smaller in stature, being out there playing against some of those bigger girls?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if it's so much as a chip on my shoulder, but I just kind of want to prove myself, I am confident in my own ability, and I just want to prove that to other people, and I the schools that did kind of recruit me, but not really. Whenever we play them, I do kind of have that chip on my shoulder, and I'm I really want to prove myself to them, this is what you missed out on, So I definitely think so, a little bit.
We talked earlier in the preseason about the WPSL and you playing that. And first of all, the growth of the league. Where have you seen that from when you started? And I know you've been around it for quite a while. And then also, so first of all, the league, and then your participation. What do you feel like you playing in the league has done for your college career?
Well, first of all, the league. I remember, I think I was maybe 14 or 15 whenever I started playing in it, and I remember going to these games, and you were literally just playing on some grass, not that's grass. I mean, I love grass, but I'm saying these dirt fields and things like that, where the goals are there's holes in the nets and things like that, and you know what I'm saying? You're what if this is supposed to be a tier below a professional league? What is this? And so just the growth that I've seen from being 14 to now 21, within that time period, it's so much better. They have to have a trainer at the games. They have to provide locker rooms and showers and towels and things like that. That from the beginning to where it's at now, the management staff has done a amazing job of transitioning it from what it was to what it is now. And then you guys asked me earlier, I was I don't really know what can prepare you to play with the speed of play and the physicality of college soccer and stuff like that. But that, I think, is the best thing I could have done for myself, just because you do, in high school, yeah, you're playing, as a freshman, you might be playing against a senior, but your skill level is probably pretty similar or close. But with that, you're playing against these high school girls, and then you go into the summer and you have to play against girls who have been in college for 4 years. And yeah, it's only a month and a half long, but just that little bit of experience, that little bit of time, I definitely think it gives you the leverage you need going into college. And it just gives you a little taste of what it's going to be like, because yeah, I don't think all WPSL teams, and the one I play on is as good of a team as OSU, but there are girls who played at OSU, and to get to play with them and players like that, I definitely think it helps. Just like you get advice from them, you get to play against them, you get to play with them, you get to learn from them, and so I think that like getting to play in that league and like especially at such a young age, I think that helped a little bit. And the league is so much better than what it was whenever I first started.
We ask pretty much everybody comes on here because we do cover women's sports in this podcast, and that's all we focus on. But overall, soccer is growing so much, and everybody talks about watching it more than just every 4 years, watching it during the actual league play. How overall do you feel the game is growing and continue to grow, and how overall do you think the actual pro leagues are growing?
Yeah, I think the main players on the women's national team and with their success, I think that's helping the league so much. Like you said, I think people they only watch it every 4 years, we're in the World Cup or maybe the Olympics or something like that. But I think like I said, with those players that are well known, and I think people care about them and they want to know how they're doing, and so I think that does help draw more attention to their professional teams. And it is, like you said, it's growing and crazy. I think I don't know all the facts and everything of the World Cup and whatnot, but I know it was I feel like everyone watched it, and I even I wasn't on the World Cup squad, obviously, but people would come up to me just knowing that I played soccer, and they're like, "Hey, you want to be on the World Cup team someday?" They all know that just because of how much publicity it got and everything like that. So I think just their, I don't know, just how well known they are. I think that helps grow the league and the game of soccer.
Do you have a favorite World Cup U.S. women's national team player growing up, and then do you have one right now?
I think probably growing up, it probably was Mia Hamm, just because everyone loved Mia Hamm and everyone wanted to be Mia Hamm. And then now on the team, I feel like there are so many good players to look up to, just because they are close to my age. You know what I'm saying? So, they're. I don't know if I have a favorite, but I got to play against Mallory Pugh one time, so that's kind of cool. But I don't think I have a that's my favorite player, but because they're all so fun to watch. Those girls are insanely good. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask, I thought was pretty interesting, and we talked to a lot of people on here about Oklahoma State has very good women's programs. Every team's on the up and up, and they're going, and the fact that you guys are the only soccer team here. A lot of the universities have a men's soccer team, but how nice is it to be the only soccer team and to have all the fans here, all the soccer fans, here to just watch you guys? Yeah,
it's so special. And then, this stadium, knowing that it's for women's, sports only, how incredible is that? There are stadiums that aren't even this nice, and they have a women's and men's team, So, to your question, I don't know, obviously, I'm female, I might be a little bit biased, but women's soccer, I think, can be more fun to watch than men's at times, just because, we were talking earlier about the whole foul thing, but I don't know, you get fouled and you get back up. It's not you lay there on the ground forever, holding your ankle whenever you barely get touched, that type of thing. And I don't know, I feel like they just, women in general, with soccer, they just, play with more heart. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, it's not so much of a individualized type thing, So and like you said, all the women's sports here, you're so right, they are all on the up and up, and it's so cool to see, and just women supporting women, you know what I'm saying? And it's really awesome.
Last couple, we always like to ask, do you have plans after college? What's your major? What's all of that stuff? Obviously, you can still play in the WPSL. Is that something that you want to continue to do?
Yeah, for sure. I always tell people I hate this question so much because I truly do not know. And I keep telling everyone, the only thing that's guaranteed for me right now is this semester. And then after that, I really have no idea. My major is nutritional sciences. And when I first chose that, I chose it because there are so many avenues you can go down with it. And now I'm dang it, maybe I should have just, chose accounting or something and, gone on to be an accountant. That's something I don't want to do, but it, definitely gives you, that's your path. Or, if you're pre-med, you're going to try to go to med school or something like that. Which I'm glad I have the option of, so many different things within nutritional sciences. But, I have really no idea. I'd love to continue to play if I could. And just, I've never even had a job
I know that sounds crazy, but like I've like babysat and done things like that, like house sat, whatever. But like I've never had a real job, so I feel like after college, like I need to, not even after college, even next year in the spring, I need to just get a job and see what that's like, you know? And then because soccer's always been my job, and I feel like that's all I've ever known. But I'm definitely not ready to hang up my cleats. No way. And whether it's on a reserve team or if I get to go overseas and play or something like that, yeah, I'd love to do that. But I'm sure I'll be playing for OKCFC for a long time. Yeah. I started, like I said, when I was 14, so I'll be there. Yeah.
Got everything.
All right. Appreciate you joining us. We will let you get out of here and won't take up the rest of your weeknight. And best of luck for the rest of the season. Appreciate you joining us.
Okay, thank you guys so much.
There you go, Jordan and Jordan. We'll finish up the podcast right after this. There you go. That was Jaci Jones, and we appreciate her taking out a few minutes and a few extra minutes. Obviously, they all talked to us on the from the media side of things, but she had to stick around a little extra, and we appreciate her doing that. And we've had really good participation so far, and everyone after we're done saying that was kind of cool. So obviously media, we get a bad rap. Some of it is earned, some of it's deserved, but we try to do it do a little bit. We're player friendly on the Cowgirl Coverage podcast. We don't really ask the real hard hitting questions. We ask the questions that are fun to answer. So.
Yeah, definitely, and she pointed us out to that Grace Yoko. Maybe we're going to talk to her next week. We talked to Wade McWhorter, the SID. He said he's going to set it up for us, so we'll see how it goes. That's the one thing that's hard about transitioning sports. The good thing is, though, we've kind of done them all now, so everybody knows what to expect. Because you hear a podcast, you're like, I don't know if I don't want to do that, and then you do it, and you're like, okay, it's actually pretty fun. Talk about more than just soccer. So I think that once we got this started, now we can get the ball rolling again on getting more guests on.
There you go. Appreciate, again, Jaci Jones joining us. So the starting five has been announced for Cowgirl Golf, and the Greg Robertson era is getting set to take off here, Jordan. And I know we had his opening press conference here on the podcast, and very interesting stuff for him. But he has selected, and it sounds like it kind of looked like it was through some sort of competition or play during the kind of a qualifying thing that gets you into the starting five, not just arbitrary. He goes and watches you swing a couple times like this. There's a rigorous process, I'm sure, to make the starting five. And the starting five looks like this: Isabella Fierro, the highly touted freshman coming into the team. She is again, I'm reading into this as left to right means 1 through 5. That's how I'm reading it. I could be wrong on that, but Isabella Fierro is number 1 on the list. She's from Mexico. Liana Bailey from Leicester, England. She's someone who narrowly missed out on nationals last year. Just kind of a few two back-to-back bogeys that left her off the nationals. And then Haley Jones from Dallas. I believe she is a freshman. I'll check on that, but believe she's a freshman. Michelle Forslund, the one senior on this team. She is from Norway, and she was the only medalist on this team, or last year's team, at the Big 12 championships. So she brings some experience back, the transfer from Jacksonville State. And then Emma Whitaker from Wichita, she rounds out the top 5. Of note, obviously, we'll talk about the ones that made it, but the one that didn't, that kind of stuck out to me, was Han Swan Yu, and she comes into her sophomore season after a dynamic freshman season where second half of the season she was placing in the top 10, top 15, top 20s of most events that she played in. And again, like Bailey, was almost a national qualifier. So just a little bit shocked to see her not on the starting 5.
Yeah, definitely. And, you don't want to read too far into it because it is the fall season, but that is interesting to see the first, overall starting 5. And I do think it has to be 1 through 5 because it's not in alphabetical order. It's not in any order. So you have to think it has to be numerical then by how it's set, but I guess we'll find out. The one thing that surprised me, so yes, Han Swan Yu, how great she did last year, made me start thinking, okay, we didn't really talk about Haley Jones over the offseason. What did she just kind of, obviously it was a competition to see who got in that starting 5, but how good is she and where did she kind of come from? That's one thing I wanted to know because I think that was the one spot that was, I thought, used to begin with, and now Haley Jones has kind of usurped her in that spot.
Yeah, someone who also, Emma Whitaker, she's a junior, and Jones is a freshman from Dallas, so she gets that spot. So, again, I think this is a strong lineup. Obviously, with Bailey, we know she can play. Forslund looked good at the end of her season last year. And again, a junior, but she's a transfer junior. So you wonder, it was her first year in Stillwater. You wonder if it just took some time for her to get into it because she was playing her best golf at the end of the year. So if that's the case, obviously we know Fierro is the highest ranked amateur of the group. Comes in as the freshman, and she instantly is the the highest ranked amateur of this group. But it'll be interesting to see early on fall season how much success they have. Obviously, we know with the likes of you not being in the starting five, this starting five is going to be pushed. That's absolutely going to be the case when you look at the talent that is on the rest of this roster.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing from Coach Robertson. Maybe I wouldn't say this is what his mindset is. Who knows? But maybe he thinks that you is good enough that he can try to get some other people some more time, more playing time. That way he has more depth when it comes to the extra spring season where the tournaments matter. I don't really know. I mean, that's probably just me guessing because you see that a lot from other spring soccer or fall softball. You see a lot more people get playing time that don't really get that much playing time, so to get more depth around the overall roster. So maybe that's what he's doing. Maybe Haley Jones is just better. So I guess we'll find out.
So again, coming up on Monday, that's September 9th, the Cowgirls begin the season at the Trinity Forest Invitational, which is held at the home of the PGA Tour's Byron Nelson. This will be OSU's first time playing at that event. It's a link-style course that opened back in 2016. That from Stephen Howard's phenomenal press release. So there you go. We told you the starting five. We told you the schedule a couple of weeks ago as well. So everything's starting to come together for this Cowgirl golf team. And just seeing it starting five kind of gets you ready to roll and tells you, man, it's OSU sports season. We're seeing it on the soccer side. Now we got some fall golf to talk about.
Yeah, I know it's getting all really back in the busy side of things. And I know we couldn't get the other podcast, but I think we kind of covered it up with this one. And we've got to get JC back on, and then also to have all these things come back up because golf, and then pretty soon here, next month is fall softball, and then the end of October, Cowgirl basketball. So it's all starting up again. We're trying to keep up with it. So it's busy, but we like it.
No doubt about it. Anything else you want to say about episode number 30, Jordan?
I think we're good, man.
There you go. Short and sweet from the guys here at the Cowgirl Coverage podcast. Again, appreciate Bishop, appreciate Jaci Jones, and appreciate you listening to us as well. Thank you for that. And we hope you enjoyed this episode number 30 of the Cowgirl Coverage podcast on the Triple Play Podcast Network.